which is actually why defragmenting a hard drive is what it is. You're just deforming the spheres to make space for other awkwardly shaped objects. For an analogy, we can also make assembling machines now next to the new steel furnaces. And I still haven't done the math correctly, probably. Wait, can't I just derive it from this? Or do I need to do it in steps from this? So that would require 2 steel per second. And to produce 2 steel per second, we need to divide this until the crafting time is divide this by 32 to make it 2 per second. Which would mean we would need 5 iron plate every 2 seconds. Oh, that's quite severe, actually. And for that, we would need 3 times 5, which would be 15 furnaces. But since we're actually making the steel furnaces, that would be reduced to close to 7, which is much better. We can upgrade this module after we built it, using the parts that the module creates, which is quite convenient. And for the bricks, that would be 4 every second, which for that we would need 3 times 4, 12 furnaces producing stone bricks, which will devour stone bricks rapidly because of the high cost of making those bricks. And so we can... I probably should have done this before that calculation because this would have been much faster. Although it would probably would have taken the same amount of time either way, just at a different time. The difference between frequency and phase. No. Actually, this is much more efficient. 1 bridge. And all of these can pass through now. Yeah, now that's thinking with science. And these should probably be out on a stalk more. Yes. They can be sortated to their requisite positions in this method. And this would be crossed to here. More efficient to do it this way, even though that's wasting most of the bridge. And we now have these 2 outputs for the 2 individual furnace arrays, as they're called. That's very strange. Unbalanced belt, that means, yes, one of these is dead, as I suspected. And power usage is still at half capacity. And the rest of this looks to be like the iron is draining readily, which actually isn't a problem because there's iron here to expand to, and there's more of it there, and there. We don't even need rails to get to here though, or here. Stone is the only one that could even pose a threat. The rest of them are pitiful. Perhaps this would have been more fun on Railworld settings. Now, these can be spaced correctly, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Difference in position of 12 tiles. This is 2, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now let's see if I did the math correctly. No. Very small overshoot by exactly 1. And this can also be powered directly from the power supply section of the main bus, which can also be extended preemptively. And what else? Yes, this has already begun, and this is probably the final problem now. Conveniently, these two can just be compressed into one line at the end and fed directly into the assembler for the furnace, which is the correct plural term for furnace. There's cactus, cacti, octopus, octopi, furnace, and furni. It's because of the us end fix. Very rule-based. And I think based on Latin. Which there are still very many remnants of in English. 12 and 15, yes. I remembered the ratio correctly. That's... yes, I see how this is going to be. Fortunately, the furnaces form... Wait, there is a problem. This needs to then be fed into steel production. And so guess what? Yes. This actually needs to move in reverse order to here. And coal needs to be branched here and sent to the correct position here for the final assembly, which will be here and much less than before, which is at least there's that. Which actually this can also be done like this now and fed to the output of the steel furnaces and combined so that the final assembler can actually be somewhere in here, which is more conveniently placed than in here with the disgusting trees. Spewing their noxious fumes everywhere. Yes, the final furnaces that will ever be necessary until we make more boilers. Of course. Or rather, final stone furnaces. I probably... no. Yes, immediately have an idea, and then immediately realize it's a bad idea. And now, if the calculations were correct, this is the perfect ratio for this going into the steel assembly or refinement, and the bricks going directly forward. That would be red science under attack. Make 4 more turrets each time this happens. Oh, and look at what they attacked. That's not very difficult to replace. Oh, but guess where they went next? Could you be any more irritating? Oh, well, that's ironic. This path, strange, very indirect. That radar is redundant because we can just move this one. And there's another one here. Those were spaced wrong. Yes. No, they shouldn't be able to reach this point anymore, unless they go the furthest possible path, which is a terrible idea anyway. Technically, the bridges are used twice as often because you always need at least 2 of them at a time to do anything. A very interesting mathematical anomaly. This module may need to be replaced eventually, which shouldn't be a problem with these new furnaces for now. Oh yes, back to what I was saying. This time with no interruptions. And this requires 2 of these per second, which is we would need 16 furnaces for 1 of these, and 32 for 2, 16 steel furnaces if we were to upgrade. And so this needs to be vastly undersized in order to become even viable. This is why steel production is always a nightmare. Now the time scales and ratios are just completely insane. This is ironically the simplest component of this entire machine. I think it may need 2 arms. Yes. Technically no, actually. This is barely enough. But it is irritating. It was barely irritating enough to stop being viable. And of course, a buffer as always. This one will be standard size for medium density. And now I can actually begin upgrading this to double speed, which would already help. I think this may take some time, which means this is the perfect time to focus on assembler upgrades. Wait, we can't do that without furnaces, and we have focused entirely on steel furnaces. In fact, every branch that requires refined resources requires furnaces. We have so many of them everywhere. We could think about what science to perform next. Logic. As much as I like logic, it's rarely necessary. But that being said, it's also extremely versatile and useful for strange operations. Things that are somewhat unusual. But its greatest value is in things like analytics, so you can have things like progress bars on branches to tell you various statistics about them, such as you can actually have hexadecimal displays telling you feed rates and it performing integral and derivative operations to tell you total number of objects produced and the rate of production. And other things like that. You can also have things like that in your warehouse to tell you exact quantities of items stored. There's so many uses. So how many is this? 14. I could have just compared it to this one, which I know is 15. That could have been so much faster. So this is 16, which is the number we calculated to be correct for steel furnaces. So this should be the exact quantity. It looks like the iron belt can't actually send iron fast enough. It says it has a feed rate of 15 items per second, which is... what's the consumption of this? So... that would be 5 iron per second. No, 10. Oh, divide, because there's 2 lanes on the belt, that's 7.5, which is actually exactly 3/4. of the amount we need in order to reach the end, which means this can't actually be fully upgraded until we have better belts, or unless we perform some really stupid operation, perhaps feeding iron through directly to halfway through so that it does reach. But now we have enough furnaces to start doing other things again. The first thing I will do is truncate these to exactly half of their current length. This is 12, so we only need this many now. The rest of these are redundant. Yes. Of course, until we can upgrade the assembler, in which case they become relevant again. But of course, in this case, since this is the fully upgraded steel system, and it's still not very good. Yes, I don't think we can even use that extra production rate. And since this is an odd number and this halves the number needed, we need one extra that will be used half as frequently as it could. Half of 15 is 7, if you're to round to highest. Actually, what is this? Counting 7 plus 8, that's 15. No wait, 8 rounding to highest. 7.5 rounded to highest is 8. We can reinstall all of this if we ever need to, but right now it's redundant. Just place these here for no reason. And get rid of all of this trash. This is already beginning to look better. Now, what else do we need? The assembly for these would technically need to be an upgrade to the one that we already have. However, I don't think that's possible where it is. We could tear out all of this and have this be only mining drills, which would reduce the number of these necessary. At the same time, we could also relocate all of this to somewhere deeper in, leaving more room. But that can all also happen later, after we replace most of these furnaces with steel furnaces, which will dramatically reduce the amount of space needed, and potentially the amount we can create at a time.